Welcome to Contemplative Living, where we view contemplations for the week to have a better understanding of our spiritual paths. This is Contemplative Living with Dave Bennett. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Contemplative Living, where we talk about concepts to bring contemplative living into everyday life. You know, I read something by Ayn Rand that said, learn to value yourself, which means fight for your happiness. And right now, there's just so much going on that we do need to fight for our happiness, and we need a really large dose of spiritual healing. So this week, we're going to talk about some of the aspects of finding happiness. So, to steer your life in a desired direction, ask yourself, what scenario would represent my highest joy? So that's just it, really, isn't it? Happiness is a direction. And it's a direction that we can choose. Now, sometimes, we get caught up with the circumstances around us, and we don't recognize that we do have that joy within us. It's part of that peaceful, quiet center that resides within each and every one of us. It contains an immeasurable amount of joy, but we have to move toward it. We have to steer ourselves in that direction. And so it's important that we recognize that. It's important that we use that as our guiding post as we move forward. Experience the flow of happiness. Bring this creative energy into every aspect of your being. Good morning, William, and good morning, Justine. I'm glad you guys could join us. So we're talking about happiness, and we want to experience that flow of happiness. It resides within us, but then how do we bring it up? How do we bring it forth into our daily life? Well, it's a part of that creative energy that we all have. We all have something that stirs our being and brings that happiness forth, whether it's listening to some favorite music, reading some favorite literature, but we use what tools we have available to bring that out of us, because it resides within us. And when it's present, it's present, because you can just reach out and just feel it. You can feel it within your being. It seems to surround you. And that's what that flow of happiness is really all about. So we really want to try to create that spark. Where does that spark reside within us? Gratitude is the beautiful, joyful truth and love inside you, finding itself in contentment. So I like to use gratitude. Gratitude is that spark for me. When I'm in gratitude, there's no room for the ego, because in gratitude, I am connected to my divine source, and I'm thankful for everything that's around me. And that beauty brings me that joyful truth that resides within myself. And it helps me to love myself. It helps me to find contentment. So using gratitude as a spark is a great way to facilitate bringing joy and happiness into your being and allowing it to expand into your day-to-day. Because isn't that what it's really all about, is to bring that joy into life. We want more joy in our lives, especially these days. And in order to see clearly and to be able to problem solve, if we have our heart filled with joy and a clear vision, then we can overcome whatever obstacles we perceive that are in our path. So I recommend, try it. Use some gratitude in your life and see how that works. Deep listening establishes a profound intimacy of self and opens the way for happiness, joy, and gratitude. So this is another tool. Just like gratitude, deep listening. Deep listening is a form of meditation. And I'm sorry, I just saw more people. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Justine. I'm glad you guys could, and Yana, I'm glad you guys are here. Deep listening establishes a profound intimacy of self, because that divine spark, that divine essence that resides within each and every one of us is very intimate, and it's very peaceful. And in that peaceful center is where we find our happiness, joy, and joy. It's where we can express our gratitude. And so to be able to use that deep listening as a way of connecting to your source is really keen for me. I use it as much as I can. Oh dear, I've been clicking away here. Hang on. I'm going to have to find these later. Okay. So listen to your heart with full awareness. When our awareness is completely present, our hearts share our true nature. You know, right now, especially with all the circumstances that are surrounding us and come at us in so many directions and so quickly, that they pervade our peace a lot of times. They pervade our quiet, our sense of our own divine. But if we listen, instead of so much with our mind, but we combine that cognitive ability from our mind, that rational part of our mind, with the compassionate element of our heart. If we listen to our heart with full awareness, then, and that's what full awareness is bringing mind and heart together into a much greater sense of awareness. And when our awareness is completely present, that's when our hearts share our true nature, because that's who we really are. That's our true nature. So when we can live in that space, and I know it's not easy to do all the time, because the circumstances definitely pull us off of our center a lot of times. And so then we have to work our way back. But, you know, that's the secret, is to recognize when you're off your center, when you're not living within that, your true nature, then that's the time that you want to work toward coming back to your true nature. So use your awareness and recognize, well, I'm really in my head right now and not so much in my heart. But I need to balance that out. I need to recognize that I need both. I need my rational mind, my you know, that part of my brain, but I also need that compassionate part of my heart to look at my circumstances and what's going on in my life as well. So that's when we can really connect. That's when we can see our true nature, is when we're in that space. So now I got to go find those ones that I clicked on and then clicked off. Okay, hold on a second. We did that one. We did that. So then that makes this one next. Sorry, got a little confused there. Things got out of order. Imagine that in this day and age, things getting out of order. Okay, well, as we recognize everyone's spiritual nature, we feel a deeper sense of peace, happiness, and joy. So, as we're working on ourselves to connect with our true nature, with our divine essence, we recognize everyone has that spiritual nature within them. They may not be exhibiting it at this moment. They may be making decisions that you can't agree with, but it doesn't mean that that spiritual nature still does not reside deeply within them. And when we can recognize that that is a part of everyone, that is a part of all humanity, that it's inherently given to us in this physical life. We all have that spiritual nature within us. Whether someone has unlocked it or not isn't the case. The thing is to recognize that we all have it, that it's present in all of us, and that some of us may have journeyed a little further down the spiritual path than others, but we recognize that everyone has that spiritual nature and that is a part of all of us. When we recognize that, we can feel a deeper sense of peace, that we can overcome whatever obstacles come our way. We can move forward with empowerment and with peace at our core. So, and not allow the circumstances and the events that pull us away from our true self to shade or create judgments. Okay, because that's the thing that gets us in trouble a lot right now, is we tend to want to judge, and it's better to discern and say, well, that's not for me. That's something that I'd rather distance myself from. Of course, if things are really severely bad or severely, distasteful, then you need to take corrective action. I'm not saying not to take corrective action, but I am saying that while taking corrective action, you can still recognize that everyone has that spiritual nature within them. And they may not recognize it, and that's fine. That is their life's choice. If we've chosen to walk down a spiritual path, that's our choice. And those are our decisions. And we can hold those dear to our heart. So, happiness is a source of great strength and fortitude. When we can use these tools that we've been talking about and bring them into our day-to-day life, they fortify us. They bring us the strength that we need to overcome the obstacles that are before us. Because that's what life is, a series of obstacles. And to recognize what tools we have in our arsenal to create that strength so that we can move forward. We don't have to be paralyzed because of a set of circumstances that have come into our lives and are disrupting our day-to-day. We don't need to be frozen in fear. And I think next week, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more, is about fear and how there, fear can lead to many, many dysfunctions. And we'll talk about that next week. But right now, let's build our arsenal so that we can overcome whatever issues and obstacles are in our paths or are distracting us from our paths. They don't necessarily, a lot of times things that are happening, don't necessarily need to, they're like pebbles in the path. We can just kind of move them aside. We can kick them aside. We really don't need to step on them all the time. So use happiness and joy, gratitude. We talked about a lot of tools, deep listening. Use all those tools in order for you to maintain your center and to be who you are, and recognize that life is tough. But if I can maintain that sense of joy in my life, then I have picked the direction I want to go in. I hope you have a joyful week coming up, and namaste. Thank you so much.